I get so many questions about this project when we removed this laminate countertop and poured a white concrete countertop, so I want to walk you through the process. Laminate countertops typically just have a bead of silicone, so they're pretty easy to remove. I replaced it with a piece of plywood cut to the size of the new countertop. Then I cut cement board the same size to sit on top of the plywood. Since this countertop is in a bathroom with a double sink vanity, I needed to mark where my sinks would go. I used the templates that came with the sinks to determine the sink size and shape and just traced them onto the cement board as well as the wood. Once I cut out the sinkholes, I made sure that everything fit and we were ready to go. Something else that I did that isn't shown in this video is I added additional supports underneath the wood base to make sure that there would be plenty of support to hold the weight of the concrete once we did the pour. As you can see, there's a lot more going on in here than just a concrete countertop. We ended up doing a complete renovation in this bathroom. Next up, we used a hole saw to drill the holes for the sink faucets. Obviously, if you want to pour a solid concrete countertop without any sinks, then you'll just skip these steps. At this point, I hadn't yet secured the wood base, so I did that with silicone as well as my nail gun, and then I siliconed the cement board on top of the wood. We used these counter edge forms from Concrete Countertop Solutions, and they're really cool. They come in different profiles. This is the profile I chose, and you simply cut them down to size and then miter the corners. Use screws to attach the forms to the cement board. There are also forms that go along the walls, and you attach them the same way with screws. I also added duct tape to that one outside corner for some extra security. Here's a closer look of the forms all secure and ready to go. I also used a silicone caulk to caulk around the edges of the forms where they meet the cement board as well as in the middle of the cement board where my two pieces meet up. We're getting so close to the pour, but there's a couple more steps that I need to do first. We also needed to cover our sinks, and we chose to use styrofoam cut to size as our sink forms, and then I caulked around it. We made sure the styrofoam was at the same height as the edge forms. The rest of the products you'll see me using are from Concrete Countertop Solutions as well. This is their fiberglass mesh that will help reinforce the concrete and help prevent it from cracking. You cut it down to size as you can see here. Make sure you wear gloves because it can cut you. These plastic pieces are called Z-clips. They help hold the mesh in place and you attach them to the concrete board with screws. So this is what it looks like all ready to go. We are finally ready for the concrete pour. When you go to do the pour, there's a lot going on in a short amount of time, so I highly recommend you get someone to help you. Meet Chad. This is my husband and he's helping me with this concrete countertop. We used a beater attachment on a corded drill to mix our concrete. We followed the instructions on the bag to determine the proper ratio of water to mix. As we poured the concrete mix, we used a trowel to spread it out. Some of it does naturally spread, and we decided that we preferred a thinner consistency, so we do add more water as we go. You can definitely see the difference in the consistency with this second batch. I didn't mention this earlier, but we also put plastic around the cabinets and thick construction paper on the flooring because this does make quite the mess. We continued to use the trowel to help smooth the surface, and then we used a 2x4 as a screed to ensure that the countertop was level all the way across. It was helpful to have this bucket at the end of the countertop to help contain the excess concrete. It's important to get rid of the air bubbles. As you can see, I'm tapping the edges of the forms to help ensure that I'm popping any bubbles. If you look closely, you can see some of those bubbles disappear. Once the concrete sets a bit, you go back and smooth the concrete even more with a finished trowel. At this point, the pour is done and the concrete is drying. You want to wait at least 24 hours before touching it. You'll notice the countertop appears to have a lot of texture, and it does have some, but some of it is chalk dust that has settled. Overall, it's pretty level, and now we wait. After 48 hours, it was time for the part I was the most excited about, removing the forms. These forms are so cool. You simply snap off the edges, and the underlying piece that it breaks off is just sitting underneath the concrete countertop. You don't even see it. Look at that smooth edge. And Chad had a bit of fun punching out our sink forms to reveal our sinks. I failed to mention earlier, we put a faucet knockout in the faucet hole, and so we also knocked that out here as you can see in the video. Overall, I was really happy with how the concrete turned out, but there were some holes and tiny cracks that I filled with this concrete patch, and it worked great. I sanded the countertop down just to ensure everything was smooth. You can see once again it's a dusty mess, so I made sure to clean everything up really well, and then I sealed the countertop with a sealer that will help protect it over time. There were several other projects we did after this, and here is the final look at not only the concrete countertop, but the entire bathroom. I love it so much. The countertop kind of has a natural stone vibe, and I love the character that it adds in this bathroom. It's definitely not perfect. This was our first time pouring a concrete countertop, but also I love the imperfections. Here's a close-up view of the countertop. Since I sanded it down, it brought these small rock pieces to the surface, but it's still very smooth. If you don't want to see those, you can epoxy the countertop instead of sanding it. Overall, this was such a fun project, and I definitely want to do it again sometime. Follow along if you love DIY because I'm always working on something.